Why did she feel the need to stab him like this? Overall, just bad vibes. And it's kind of sad. Hi babes, and welcome to my series Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit, and today we've got a wild one. The running theme today is people making very wrong moves. I'm trying to do more stories with updates, so a bunch of these do have updates, so stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's dive in and see some crazy shit. Okay, so the first one is, am I the asshole for freezing out my wife after she told people that having sex with me does nothing for her? For context, me, male 56 and female 47, have been together for 26 years, married for over 20 years, one child. We always try to make the most of our weekends together, and yesterday was no exception. We had a day out shopping and food, then met up with acquaintances for a few drinks before heading home. The subject got around to relationships and how to keep the flame burning. One of the younger women asked my wife how to keep sex enjoyable after being with a person for so long. I don't know, having sex with me does nothing for me since our child, 18, was born. There was an awkward silence and people started making excuses to leave. Traveling home mostly in silence, I asked her if she thought that was an appropriate comment and that I wanted her to apologize. As per usual, she doubled down and blamed me for being too sensitive. Since then, there has been no communication. This is wild. Like, this is definitely a bad move on the wife's side. I honestly will never fathom how you can so casually say something about your partner, even if you have this problem. There is nothing wrong with that, but you should discuss it with your man. What were you trying to achieve? Why are you doing this to your husband? Like, you will have to see these people over and over again. So why would you do that? I did have a couple of friends and acquaintances who would somehow insist on shaming each other and complaining about each other in front of their friends. And I kind of have a feeling that it's, this type of cry for help, because when you're not capable of communication in the relationship, you will go have a drink, loosen up, and then start spewing this in an environment where you know that your partner cannot escalate this to a fight. So you're essentially just shaming them or complaining about them, knowing that you will have no repercussions because your partner probably will not call you out on that. I get that it's coming from the place of deep dissatisfaction with the relationship, but like, you're making it so much worse. Like, by disrespecting your partner in front of other people, you're not making any of y'all any favors, and also the people who end up caught in this feel awkward. I mean, sometimes it can be entertaining. There were times when me and my husband were sitting with a couple of our friends and the friends started literally like low-key fighting in front of us, and we're sitting there, watching it as a live show, glancing at each other, being like, oh, we're gonna have some intense tea session after this. But generally, it is awkward. It's a case of, somebody probably acting impulsively. The wife definitely didn't think before she said that. Still, wrong move, awful way to go if you want to ruin your marriage even more. Anyway, we have an update. She has said that she meant penetrative sex means nothing to her as she is unable to orgasm that way since childbirth. That is not what she said in public. I knew there was an issue, bought the equipment/balls to help her tighten up, but they were never used. Sex would consist of a lot of foreplay, oral, and occasionally toy play. This would give her 3 or 4 orgasms before penetration. I thought she enjoyed the intimacy. I don't guilt her into sex. When we had our child, I waited 10 months before we resumed physical intimacy. I'm not going to insult her to make myself feel better. 2 wrongs make it a hell of a lot worse. She has tried to blame the comment on the menopause, she's perimenopause, and the few drinks that she had, but I'm not buying it. That's an excuse, not an apology. I'm not the typical Scotsman, no deep fried Mars bars for me. I do a physical job and run 5K every day. I had a 32-inch waist when we married, and I have a 33-inch waist 20 odd years later. To be truthful, I'm feeling shock, shame, embarrassment, and emasculated. I can't imagine ever being intimate with her again. You know, this does not sound unfixable. This just sounds like a lot of miscommunication and just like a really, really bad move on her part. She probably did have a bit too many drinks, and that's why she kind of slipped and expressed her feelings in the wrong way. But then again, if she has a couple of orgasms before penetrative sex, that's a completely different story, because the question was how to keep sex life enjoyable after being together for so long. So what she could have said is that you buy toys, you try different techniques and different types of sex, and figure out what fits both of you and what feels better for both of you. That is literally describing your sex life, but not humiliating your husband. Why did she feel the need to stab him like this? Not even in the back, just in front. Hello, honey, here's my knife. I do feel like if she apologizes and you talk and then talk some more and some time will pass, you will maybe be comfortable being intimate with her again, because you know, it's just the shock value of what happened. You need to give it time, and also yes, there is an apology in order. So I hope y'all will figure it out, but the situation is very much yikesy. Let's see, this one is from Am I the Devil? Originally it comes from Today I F***ed Up, and it's just precious. Today I up by telling my wife her sister is a 6. Doesn't sound so bad, does it? I mean, it is bad, but just you wait. Today, my wife and I were talking about superficial stuff like looks. I mentioned how I think people tend to rate others too highly, often giving out 9s or 10s when most of the people are probably closer to a 5, which I see as average. I explained that we probably know a few folks who might be a 6 or 4, fewer who could be 7 or 3, only a handful who might be seen as an 8 or 2, and almost none who could be considered a 9 because perfection doesn't exist. Then my wife asked me where her sister would fit into this rating system. I instantly said she's a 6, with some extra explanation that it's more towards the higher end of 6. I also mentioned that I see myself as more of a 5 as well, not super attractive, but maybe a bit better than average. But my attempt to explain that being a 6 is an okay kind of beautiful seemed to upset her, especially since the sister I'm talking about is her identical twin. The reasoning behind that number is that I don't want to make things weird. Looking back, I realized that these kinds of shallow conversations aren't good for relationships, because there is no scenario where I would win and it would eventually lead to hurt feelings. Now, I need to figure out how to make things right and show her that her rating in my eyes is in fact an 11. Oh no, my boy, you already ruined everything that could be ruined. That was a very, very wrong move, very misguided. I didn't want to make things weird, but you do realize that identical twins look exactly the same. So if you're rating her identical twin a 6, you are automatically rating your wife a 6. I can't believe I'm explaining this because it's pretty obvious, and the problem is not shallow conversation. The problem is that you just casually told your wife that her and her sister are like barely above average, and it's fine. Being of an average appearance is fine because most of us are average. That's, you know, where the average comes from. But when you are talking to your partner, you don't want to hear from them that you're kind of like a 5 5, a 6, it's kind of fine, whatever. You want to hear that you are the prettiest, the most amazing woman that ever existed. Considering that the sister is an identical twin, probably would also be best to say that, she looks so much like you, and you know that to me, you are like 20. Yeah, bad move. Don't do that. And also, I hate these rating systems. For every single person, the definition of attractiveness and beauty varies so much, it's impossible to make some type of a rating. So yeah, a very bad move, my guy. I'm kind of upset for the wife and the identical twin. Just apologize, even though I'm not sure that it will do much good, because the same as with the previous story, that memory is forever in her brain now. Quick interlude. I want to remind you to please subscribe, put a like down if you enjoy this content, because it helps a lot. Thank you so much. Let's go back to the stories. Am I wrong for embarrassing a woman on a WhatsApp group for hitting on my boyfriend? I'm on a WhatsApp group with my boyfriend, this woman called Megan, and some other guys. We all met at a party for the first time, and she created this group for meetups at the pub quiz. At that particular party, she didn't exchange phone numbers with my boyfriend, but told the guy who had his number to add him, and then my boyfriend added me and the other guys. She was already hitting on him at the party, I thought, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt. My boyfriend did nothing inappropriate, and at first he thought maybe she didn't know we were a couple, but I told him that she did because she was complimenting him even when talking to me for the first time. Your boyfriend is so good, etc. He said that even if he found her lame, he could not uninvite her even if he is the organizer because she created the group. She didn't even save my number to her phone. No idea if she's talking to my boyfriend in private. We were at the pub quiz last night and she was all over him. Never touchy, but giving him compliments about his skills and physical appearance, talking about her upcoming Botox procedure, being generally very friendly, but you could tell she wasn't like that with the other guys. Both my boyfriend and I ignored her. He's very friendly and he was as friendly with her as he was with the others, and that's it. When we get home, I post the bill on the WhatsApp group because I paid and they needed to give the money back. Megan says she shouldn't have ordered a second beer because she was so drunk and only talked to my boyfriend about work instead of having an interesting conversation, or that maybe next time we should all get drunk. My boyfriend and I are sober and everyone knows that. I told her it's fine, I have enough interesting conversations with my boyfriend to compensate for the topics she discusses. Oh, burn. She asked me why I didn't want to drink, and I said so that I don't make a fool out of myself hitting on Taken. Guys, girl, my applause to you. You win the award for being the coolest in town today. Now the group went silent, and my boyfriend is a bit sad that the dynamic of our pub quiz group might change. You're not in the wrong because there's only so much you can stomach without saying something, and it's obvious that the girl was kinda not getting that she was being absolutely obnoxious, inappropriate, and also terrible. It's one of those episodes where I can't believe I'm saying this and I have to spell it out for some people, obviously, because, this woman doesn't get it. Don't hit on other women's men, okay? This will get you nothing. In the long run, you will just end up being the biggest piece of in this whole situation. If you think it's not obvious, you're wrong. If you think people are blind and they don't see what's going on, you're wrong. Some people will be very friendly and overly touchy and stuff like that with their friends without realizing it, even if there is nothing, sexual or no pod text. It's just a person treats their friends like that, but then she should be like that that with all of them, not just this specific boyfriend. The OP is my hero today. Good checking the girl. Let's move to the next story. This one is from Petty Revenge. My half sister wanted to show up in a wedding dress to my engagement party, so I changed the party theme so she would fit right in. My half sister Heather and I never really got along. We both are 24. My father left my mother for her mother, and we were born the same months, 20 days apart. It has always been weird. It doesn't help that Heather's mom hates me and my mom. By extension, Heather and I didn't have the best relationship. She has always tried to one-up me, even though we both have a similar economic background. I can give examples of this, but for the sake of the word limit, won't write them here. So now my fiance and I got engaged last month and had our engagement party this Saturday. We had planned it originally as a casual formal event. Nice dresses, but not I'm going to the Met Gala ball nice. More like we are going to a good restaurant nice. Anyway, my cousin hits me up saying she has to show me something. It was the picture of the dress Heather was gonna wear. This is what the dress looked like approximately. It was a bit shorter and a bit less puffy. The rest is almost identical. This dress, Jesus Christ, it can only be described as opulent. It was lawn and white, strapless with sewn-in crystals and golden accents. I'm pretty sure it's a wedding dress, but I can't be 100%. This made me really mad. So I decided that. I started texting people telling them that there had been a change of plans and that instead of casual formal, I decided to make a costume party. My mother's side is crazy for Halloween, so they were immediately on board. I told my father via text and asked him to relay the message to Heather and her mother, knowing full well that he would forget or leave it to the last minute. Saturday comes along, guests start showing up, most of them in costumes. Some didn't have time to get one. We just provided them with fun hats and cheap wigs. Heather, my dad, and her mother came like 1 hour late. As soon as she notices that everyone was either wearing elaborate costumes or weird accessories and she didn't stand out, she lost it. Especially when my fiance came along and told her that her bride dress looked amazing for a cheap costume. She left crying, and her mother and my father told me that I was being childish and I could have told Heather myself and not have asked my father. For those interested, my fiance was dressed as Bubbles and I was dressed as Mojo Joe, or whatever that is. I'm gonna Google it later. My mom and aunts went as Abba. Other memorable costumes were Luffy and Zoro, Ian Malcolm and John Hammond, and Jesus. Well, no good costume party without Jesus, am I right? This is hilarious. I think that this is a good example of a person trying to do a bad move, and she was caught before she could do that and got what she had coming. A lot of people, I feel like, will push and push and push others because they know that nothing will come out of it. It seems like she's been pushing the OP for a very long time, and the OP decided to kind of strike back. And it's a very, very soft striking back because, Heather was about to ruin her engagement party, or at least make it unpleasant for the OP for some time, because she was definitely planning to spring it on the OP and outshine her in her dress. But the OP took a very creative approach to with her, and I love it. I love it when people like that get out and outsmarted. This is very much fun. Edit. So why did I invite her? It's one of those weird family situations where not inviting them would have been more dramatic. When you try pleasing everyone. Plus, I still wanted a relationship with my father, so not inviting Heather and her mom would have made things super difficult and made it so my father would have had to choose. When I kept thinking of it, I noticed that my father wouldn't have chosen in me in this scenario, which is why I ended up cutting them off. Nice, good choice, considering that your father doesn't seem to really care about your emotions, your feelings, your reasoning, because he just took their side. You let her win. No, the point of this is to ruin my half sister's intention. She wasn't just dressed nicely, as some of you put it, she wore a wedding dress to my engagement party. I'd much rather subvert this whole mess rather than have her smugly sitting at the table with her wedding dress. Yeah, I agree, it's not letting her win, it's kind of up her whole plan. Also, some of you are really hung up on the cheap wigs part and ignore literally everything else regarding the party. A minority of our guests wore those cheap wigs. Also, it literally doesn't matter. We had a blast. After she left, I didn't even think of her again till a few days later. I don't regret the costume party. I wish I thought of it earlier, to be honest. Yeah, it sounds super fun. And also, kind of creative, considering that a lot of engagement parties and weddings are very similar. If you do something this fun, it's only benefiting you, and it's good that Heather's malicious intent turned into something so positive. And then we have an update. I keep seeing my post as mother in TikTok. I also saw an account that pretended to have an update. Apparently, my husband cheated with my half sister, my mother exploded, and my grandma is a dog. To the update, I got married. It was an eventful and thankfully drama free day. My father was not in attendance. After my engagement party, I realized that he would never choose me willingly. Even if he loves me, he doesn't love me enough to stand up for me. He constantly allows his wife and daughter to walk over me and even become abusive. So I wrote him a lengthy email from my old school days email account. It detailed my resentful feelings towards him and uninvited him from the wedding. Then I logged out because I know myself. I would be upset with his answer, and if he would not answer, I would also be upset. I also blocked him and his family from all access, and I went cold turkey, freezing even. I changed phone providers and deleted my social media accounts for a while. He did try to contact me through my mother. She said it was just upsetting, so I told her I did not want to know. So I just cut him off. And boy, my life improved drastically. We had an amazing wedding. Unhinged things that happened after the wedding. I got a cease and desist letter from my half sister. It was very vague and weird, but we quickly found out that it was only a Google copy pasta. My stepmother followed me to the supermarket and tried to intimidate me to apologize to Heather. She made the produce wildly uncomfortable. My father tried to pick me up at work. He was walking next to me while I went to my car. He was trying to get me to apologize to Heather and her mom. He said that I should be the bigger person and that I know how both of them are. So I just told him that he must be mistaken because my father is dead. He just stood there as I drove off. Then they started to bother the rest of the extended family. Heather and her mom apparently wanted them to cut me off, which backfired spectacularly because now they are cut off, which also means that they are excluded from a lot of family events that they were looking forward to. Plus, they can't use my uncle's cabin. So Heather's mom had allegedly been at her sister's since the whole breakdown. I have to be honest, I don't know how much of this is true. As you know, the toxic gossip train always has to be taken with a grain of salt. I don't know, but I think it's funny. A sad thing is that I don't even miss my father. His absence has made zero negative effect on my life. We did have one more costume party around Halloween, but this time we gave everyone more time and it was even more fun. My mom's side of the family all pitched in, we got a venue and invited a bunch of people. I recommend this totally. I met so many of my cousin's friends who I have kept in touch with. Nothing else has changed. I still have my old job, I am not pregnant, we have the same old apartment. We did redecorate though. So this is all from me, not all too dramatic. First, congratulations on your wedding. Second, congratulations on finally cutting ties with your toxic side of the family. It is sad that you don't feel the absence of your father, but it's more like sad in just a general human way, But to be honest, if it does nothing specifically for you and if your life improved, then it's a good thing and I'm happy. All's well that ends well. And before we move to the next story, I just want to say that Heather and her mom sound like a nightmare. They're definitely toxic and you're way better off without them anywhere near your family. I hope y'all are very happy without them. So the next story is also from Am I the Devil and originally from Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for not complimenting my wife so that she won't become vain? Context: my wife, 29 female, and I, 31 male, have been together for 10 years. We have 3 children, 9, 7, 5. My wife was never someone to really dress up or put too much thought into her looks. She's always been beautiful but never did much to highlight it until recently. She went through this crisis of feeling like she didn't have a personality outside of being a mom, something like that. So for the last 2 years, she started traveling more, joining different groups, dressing really nicely, wearing makeup. I never realized how much of a difference it would make, but people treat her completely different. She's constantly getting complimented, told she should be in magazines. She'll come home and happily tell me about the random stranger who was so nice to her. She randomly gets gifts. Lady at her job brought her a book series she was interested in. She gets hit on. When we go out, all those dudes want to buy her drinks. Even my family has noticed, and all of a sudden it seems like they're wondering how I ended up with her. Honestly, it's a bit overwhelming for me and something I'm just not used to. It's kind of become annoying. Anyways, she was going out with friends and she asked me how she looked. I just said fine. She seemed disappointed with this. My sister was over and commented that I should have hyped her up. I said why should I when the world already does? That I don't want her thinking too highly of herself and becoming more vain. My sister looked shocked and said that's f***ed up. Said that's low-key abusive and I'm an asshole. I think she's overthinking it, but decided to get outside opinions. So, am I the asshole? Big time, yes. You, mister, are insecure about having a wife that suddenly got herself a wife and suddenly looks like she's enjoying herself, and probably you are not very comfortable with this because you sound annoyed that people are acknowledging her beauty, that she is enjoying all this attention, and it's kind of sad. It's a very bad move and a very stupid approach not to compliment your wife so that she doesn't become vain, because like she knows she's beautiful, she gets complimented, she gets hit on, she gets all this validation from other people. She probably just wants you to also like her, and by not complimenting her and telling her you look fine, you make her feel like everybody else likes her except her husband. And you will not die if you compliment her. Also, you will not die if you tell her honestly how you feel. I mean, you probably also think she looks gorgeous, right? So what's the problem? She's not gonna become vain. She's just gonna know that her husband thinks she looks awesome. I'm always dressing up to go outside and stuff like that because I spend most of my time in the apartment. So when I go out or when I film videos, I want to look fancy and maybe a little bit funky and stuff like that. And I really do love when my husband will unprompted compliment me, which he usually does. My husband will look at me and be like, oh wow, you're really pretty. And I'm like, oh, thank you. It's just nice. It's just a nice part of the relationship. And by the way, it goes not only for wives, but for husbands, because I do also compliment my husband a lot. And I think it's something that is so small, but it does enhance your relationship. It does kind of keep everyone informed that you still find each other attractive and that you still think that the other person is awesome, pretty, and sexy. By playing this weird Machiavellian tactics of I'm not saying she's attractive because everybody else does, and God forbid she will have some self-confidence, you're just hurting yourself, and also you're the one with a problem. Bad move overall, just bad vibes. Love your wife before she leaves you. Okay, my boyfriend said he wishes he was with my sister sister. I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend, 26 male, for about 4 years. I met him through my sister, 27 female, who's been his best friend since freshman year. She's a lesbian and getting married to her girlfriend in October. Me and her have always been close, the usual sibling stuff. Sometimes we fought, but always resolved it because she's my best friend. Our parents have always been supportive of both of us, and when she came out, our parents basically said, "Oh yeah, we know. When can we meet her?" I've always had some issues with guys getting close to me for my sister because she's the prettier and more outgoing between us, but she's always helped me build up my confidence and made jokes about me becoming lesbian to avoid the awkward guys. My boyfriend always flattered me, told me how I'm his one and only, how he can't wait to start a family with me, all that stuff. He was my first kiss, the one I lost my virginity to, all the cliche Hallmark movie stuff. Well, last night, after we had finished having sex, he randomly said, "You know, sometimes I pretend when we're that I'm with your sister." He saw the way I looked at him, I guess, and immediately backpedaled, saying, "A few years ago, not anymore. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry." And kept apologizing and trying to make what he said less bad, I guess. I asked him straight up if he was cheating on me with my sister, and he denied it, saying that he was just high off the sex and didn't know why he said that because it wasn't true. I'm currently at my sister and her girlfriend's apartment, sobbing my eyes out because I don't know what I did wrong. I thought I had finally found a guy who liked me, not my sister, but I was wrong. I feel like I've thrown out years of my life for him for absolutely nothing. He's been blowing up my phone, and at first it was, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, come back, babe," but now he's saying stuff like, "I knew you were the crazy one, you can't take a joke." I feel like I don't even know my boyfriend anymore. This is insane. The first time I read the story when I picked it for the episode, I kind of missed the part where the sister is the boyfriend's best friend, so they're really close, which makes this whole thing so much worse. Makes it seem almost like he couldn't be with a sister, so he picked the next best option. It just frankly is disgusting. How do you even say that? How do you form these words, pronounce these words, and then still think it's fine? I mean, he changed real fast and went to, "Oh, sorry, I don't know why I said that, I didn't mean it," and stuff like that. But this is one of those things where one sentence can ruin multiple years of a relationship, because I would not be able to look at him again. I would not be able to have sex with him again, because what do you mean you imagine my sister when we are what happened in your pea brain to say that out loud? This is definitely breakup worthy for me, and we have an update, so let's see. Well, I met up with my boyfriend at our apartment a day after my first post, along with my sister and her girlfriend, who I'll be calling Mel. He immediately asked why we were having an intervention and interrupting his game night. I asked him to turn the computer off and come to the living room, and then minutes later he did after finishing a Fortnite match. I asked him if what he said he actually meant, and he asked my sister and her girlfriend to leave, so they went into the kitchen. He said he didn't mean it and he already forgot it happened, even though I haven't been home in 4 days. I told him to pack his and leave, and he refused and got up to do who knows what. My sister and Mel came in and told him to go. He again refused, saying it was his house. I asked where his name was on the rent, and he said it didn't matter because he lived there. So I took the initiative for once in my life, yay me, yay you, and went into our room, pulled out a duffel bag, and started packing for him. My ex started following me, getting panicked and saying he would pack but just to leave the room so he could. Well, I didn't trust him with my stuff, as I have a lot of antique jewelry and stuff. I'm a thrifty gal, what can I say? Which I definitely didn't want him to take. In the bottom of the duffel bag was several condom wrappers and unopened ones. No, we never put our condom trash in a duffel bag after sex. No, I didn't loan it to a friend. Whatever could have happened, you may be wondering, grasping your phone in anticipation. The answer: he's a cheating piece of He saw I found it and claimed he was sleeping with my sister. You know, my lesbian sister? That sister. Mel, me, and my sister told him to cut the bullshit and he had 5 minutes to pack before we called the cops. And my sister, the lesbian, said if anything was missing, we would file a report. After he left to who knows where, me and the girls had a cry fest. Okay, just me. And my sister kept telling me she would never sleep with anyone I was with, male or not, which I obviously believe. He's blowing up my phone, my sister's phone, Mel's phone. I don't know how he got it. With him saying he's homeless and he wants me back or wants my sister, and calling Mel a f***ing sinner. He's being blocked and hopefully out of our lives for good. Thank you guys for giving me the support and strength to leave him. It means a lot that strangers I never have met would care. Stay safe, everyone. Oh, girl, I'm very happy this ended the way it did because what a piece of. In this line of work, I often see terrible people, but it never stops surprising me. Like, he was backed into a corner because of what he said about the sister, and he didn't think of anything better to say than saying he the sister, the lesbian sister, who was also there, who also has a girlfriend, who was also there. This is so wild, and it just breaks my heart that you wasted so much time on this crappy excuse of a man. But I do hope you will eventually find someone for whom you will be the center of the universe, who will love you, cherish you, and never even think of upsetting you, let alone cheating on you. So yeah, this was the last story about bad moves that I have for you for today. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here, though I doubt it, and I will see you with another video next week. Bye.